Welcome to WIN's Lunch and Learn webinar series on Living Fully with Disabilities. We're joined today by our partner, Aiden, the Ontario Disability Employment Network.
Today, you have joined us to hear more and to learn more about Aiden Lee. Aiden is an abstract painter, educator, and advocate, challenging barriers through the power of art. Born with autism, ADHD, and anxiety, Aiden found solace in art, his authentic mean of expression. Through vibrant colors and diverse textures, Aiden communicates beyond words. Aiden's work graces the cover of the Ontario Government Autism Parent Resource Kit, and he has taught over 5,000 students through his Art from the Heart initiative. He champions art's therapeutic power. His creations adorn spaces like the Ontario Parliament and even Temple Grandin's home. Such an impressive collection. Awards include the Queen's Platinum Jubilee Community Service Award. Aiden Lee's journey reshapes adversity into triumph, providing proving art's ability to heal and unite. And through his creativity and advocacy, he transforms his life and the lives of others. Please join me as we welcome Aiden to this conversation.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Aiden Lee, as you heard. I'm so excited to be connecting with you guys today. Just so you know, I am an artist, first and foremost, and I've been living with autism, ADHD, and anxiety my whole life, and always will be. You know what? I always say that I call them the triple A autism, ADHD, and anxiety. And I say I run on triple A batteries and a lot of things like a toy that keeps going and going. It needs triple A batteries, and I need my triple A's especially to keep me moving. And I have been using a way of communication through the power of art since I was 5 years old. So I think that, well, hold on. I think if I move my camera, if you guys can, I'm gonna do this thing with you guys where if you could pin my screen, instead of having a slide that most people do, I'm gonna have a interactive background so you guys can follow. So I'm going to be switching canvases and switching paintings every single time I want to talk about a certain topic. And I'm going to be bringing in one right now. And I'm going to sit back down once again. Oh, goodness. Oh, okay. Oh, what's happening? Okay, let's get back on.
Are you good, Aiden?
You know what? A little bit of a mishap here and there, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm a little bit nervous, so I'm not looking around my surroundings, but I'm going to get back on track. Don't worry. Oh, take a deep breath. And then we take a deep breath out. So I think that when I create art, I think it's really important that we should consider something that a lot of people don't really think about, and that is to pour our emotions onto a canvas. I know that sounds really weird, but it's not too weird. If you think about it, my dream is to motivate everybody that is tuning in at right now to explore the power of art. Now, obviously, art doesn't mean that it's just one specific style. It could be watercolors, it could be pens, pencils, crayons, oil pastels, but not just in the way of physical art. You could do cooking, you can do dance, you can do poetry, you can do singing, whatever form of creative art you want to accomplish and you want to kind of tackle. I recommend doing it because a lot of people say this, but art is a way, well, as you heard, of communication. It allows you to express yourself and especially express the emotions you feel, especially on a level where you can't sometimes express those emotions. Like verbally, if I'm really upset, I won't be able to verbally tell everybody how I'm feeling, but I can create a piece like for the one behind me. The one behind me right now is a much more darker painting. I'm not a very big dark painter, But this was during the time of COVID, and COVID changed a lot of people's lives, and it changed my life as well. Things changed, things were different, and when things become different, they're very, very confusing, and you know what, when I have to, and here's the thing, I can't really explain to you how it feels when something changes. So I painted this painting, and you could see there's some light, of course, but there was also a lot of dark because I didn't know what was going on. I was confused, I was frustrated, but then I also kind of understood why things had to be like that and why things had to change. So with painting, art, every single painting represents an experience somebody has, kind of, yeah, an experience, a memory, usually something that's happened to that specific person that reflects what they were feeling or the emotion they felt sometimes. You know what? Each medium, I should say, because art has so many mediums, offers a unique pathway that will help uncover what is truly bothering you. And that's why I think art is so important. My simple thing that I always love to say, and which is really important, is to throw your emotions onto a canvas rather than each other. Because if we have that mindset, if we remember not to throw our emotions onto each other and to instead, throw your emotions onto the canvas, you're more inclined to be able to open yourself up. A lot of people who feel very closed up just don't know how to express themselves. So traveling through the power of art is a very, very good way of expressing yourselves. And I'm just going to take one thing. I'm going to say, imagine soaking a paintbrush into watercolors. Let's just give you an example. But knowing you have control of your emotions and that they're flowing down your arm to your fingers and allowing the gentle spread of colors that mirrors the same amount of tension within you. Obviously, let's say, for example, hold on, let's get another switch here. Hopefully with no stumbling. Let's say, for example, we have a painting with bright purples and pinks and greens and these kind of, this one, for example, is that I created this piece in inspiration of a beautiful kind of like flower paint I saw in downtown Oakville. But what's most important is that this painting was inspired by, tags that you see sometimes on the side of buildings and the side of cars. I always say it like this: if you're ever going to do spray paint, rather than do it on somebody else's space, do it on your own space, do it on a canvas. That way you're not damaging property. That way you're creating your own tag, as you see here, the black lines kind of represent my own tag. I wrote my name actually, an A and an L. I know it doesn't look like an A and an L, but it's my own interpretation of it. And that's why art's so awesome. The colors and the way that you create your painting express what you're feeling, and you're watching the paper or your canvas absorb that color. It's about finding a medium that works for you and that empowers you. Now, I'm going to take one, for example, this example of emotion per se, and I have here a book. What is this book? Well, this book obviously doesn't look like a regular book because it's not. This book I call an art journal, and this art journal was my way of kind of like taking something on the go and bringing new life into it. So I'm going to just say there was this book that I had on my shelf, and it was an old book. It kind of just sat on my shelf, and I already read through it. I already read through the entire book time and time again, and I just never got to really use it again. And then I was like, this book is not serving a purpose, so let's give it a purpose. Let's bring some life into it. And I created this book where every single day I would create a special kind of painting, and it really just depended on how I was feeling. It may have been flowers. It may have been a landscape. It may have been, hold on, I'm going to bring you another one, just pure abstract again. I am a big abstract painter. I love abstract. Maybe even a watermelon. You're feeling a little bit fruity. and you know what, you're feeling maybe some pure rainbow color, why not? And once you're done with the book, what you can do is, if you look at the top here, there are a lot of tags. There's greens, oranges, purples, blues, and reds. And each tag represents a certain emotion or certain feeling that I was inspired by. Now, obviously, you can see here, there's a lot of green. So I was really inspired by life. Or red, which is the least, was passion. I'm not a big passion person sometimes. I'm more of a calm, creative kind of person, where you could see there's more oranges and more purples than, let's say, than red. But you know what? You're capturing your emotions into a book. And let's say you have somebody over, for example, or you have somebody who can't really understand themselves or really can't understand the emotions they're feeling. They can record their emotions in this emotion book or this art journal. And this is a great way of reusing an old book, and creating something a little bit creative. Because you know what? You need to have some creative things in your life. And obviously, you can also get a free donated book from the library. The library offers free books. So if you don't want to give up an old book that you have on your shelf, or you don't have an old book on your shelf, you can go to the library and ask for any old books that they're going to throw away. That way you can use that book and breathe a new purpose into it. Now, we talked about watercolor, but I'm going to bring in a new one, and I'm going to be bringing in I think it's this one. Oh yeah, no. I sorry guys, got confused there for a quick second. So guys, I want to bring in one which is my favorite medium, and that is the acrylic medium. Let's see if I'm sitting on the right chair. I am sitting on the right chair. Phew. Okay, guys. So why would I choose acrylic paint? Well, acrylic paint is known for its vibrant hues and obviously its quick drying properties. A lot of people talk about it. It's the better drying equivalent to oil paints that a lot of people use. And it doesn't smell like oil paints. It's a medium that allows you to speak volumes through its paint strokes. And this painting especially has that feeling. Each stroke was crafted with acrylics, usually carries a story with it. And I myself love the paint's ability to layer without muddying the colors beneath. Like, for example, this black underneath a yellow. That's so weird. You would think that yellow would have been covered up by that black, but no, they just work side by side. It allows artists to continually adapt and build upon their work, much like life itself. And obviously this layering, this building, it kind of symbolizes the trials and difficulties we face and our determination to persevere through them. It's really important to remember that if you're ever struggling, if you ever need that time for yourself, that time to kind of capture that moment, or that capture to recollect yourself, I say recollect yourself through art, because I want to keep pushing it. It's so important that we don't forget how important art has been in history, well, for myself, my emotional states. It's so important to remember how powerful art is and how strong art can make you be. And that is why I always add acrylic paint to every masterpiece, because it mirrors both myself, and it also mirrors that adaptability and strength, as I said. Now, I'm going to bring in a brand new one, but I'm going to just say this. Art is a bridge. It's a bridge and a means to help us transition from those overwhelming negative emotions and really carve out space for rejuvenation and healing and positivity. Each paint medium that you use, or any art medium that you use, often usually offers its own addition to our personal journey. You know what? The magic is discovering yourself, and definitely discovering what kind of emotions you're feeling, and especially discovering what makes you feel happy. What do you enjoy creating? What is your go-to medium? What is your favorite thing to do? Is it cooking? Is it dancing? Is it baking? Is it driving? Is it painting? Is it whatever? That's why we should find that way of art. That's why we should embrace that art. Because for me, without art, I wouldn't be able to speak, or at least take a long time to speak. Because you know what? I only painted when I was like, or started speaking till I was 5 years old. And during that time, I had to find a way to express myself because, listen, and not being able to express yourself till you're 5 is quite a long time. So finding a way to express your emotions helps you feel relieved and relaxed enough to begin to heal, begin to rejuvenate, begin to, like, obviously not fix ourselves, but to heal, but to kind of like, you know what, to heal, to process things, to process and understand your emotions, to understand the things that have happened. Again, it's a bridge. You're building that art is that bridge to understanding yourself. That is the most important way of art. Now, I'm just going to bring in one more. And that is through, oh my goodness, this is a big one. Let me put this one down, and let me bring another big one in. Oh my goodness, I don't know if this has a back out. So guys, the last one that I want to talk to you about is nature. So why would I talk about nature? I'm just going to quickly go on to it. Nature is a big inspiration. A lot of things in nature were really inspired by and are created using nature, whether that be the buildings that we live in, the houses we live in, the designs we create are all inspired by nature. Even, let's say, clothing, furniture, food, guys, is from nature. Without nature, we would not have it. You know what? Nature inspires music even. Sometimes the music of let's say wind going through a hollow tree makes this weird whistling noise. Birds, for example, come from nature. That's an example. And just seeing how inspiring nature is, especially with the evergreen trees. I love nature. Nature is that way for me to understand, you know, how nature is created, the patterns of nature, and get inspired by that, to get creative and create something off of it. I've created these things where I've taken wood rounds, you know, the wood rounds that you might see on a table, and I painted on those because they're so awesome to work with. They absorb that paint so quickly, and I'm like, it's such a weird way of using an art style because it's not your usual canvas. It's something a little bit new, something a little bit unique, just like every single one of us. We are all unique in our own ways. And again, finding that thing that makes you feel excited to paint is always great because that way you're able to find a way to express yourself. And when we connect with nature, we ground ourselves in truth. But we also open a window into tomorrow. Guys, nature starts a whole art story because you can paint it in any color, use whatever textures, designs, or lines you need because you're just adding your own chapter to it. Now, let's say we add oh my goodness, let's get one more, guys. One more. I know we keep talking about it, but it's so important that we learn about how awesome art can change. I think I'm going to bring out this one. And guys, has anyone ever told you how beautiful it is when winter comes around? You know what? Nature can change. Nature can be different. Nature can change from one color, like for example, a beautiful green in the summertime, to winter where it becomes a white, snowy green. And it's a way to inspire yourselves. Let me just say this. If we had to simply put together what I was talking about, art is the bridge that lets us channel and release our emotions. And we are part of an astounding world brimming with neurodiverse thinkers and innovators. You know what? I always say that a lot of people do this thing called forest bathing. And if you've ever heard of forest bathing, which I don't know if a lot of people have, because it's a very big thing in Japan, and they allow themselves to heal through the power of art. But more specifically, the power of nature. They walk into the forest and they let themselves be relaxed by the sounds of nature, the smells of nature, the feel of nature. And they allow themselves to be embraced by nature, to calm themselves, to make themselves feel more at ease, to be more in body. And with that, it allows themselves to collect themselves, to be able to understand oneself. And it's great to guys, if you ever have the chance to get a break, I want you to try out this forest bathing. I want you to take a walk in the forest, listen to the sounds, listen to your feet walking on the gravel or whatever you're walking on, and just take a breath in and a deep breath out, and take a second to appreciate how amazing nature is. Now, I will ask for everyone, is it 1 or are we doing 1:10? I forgot. I think it's 1, right?
I have 1 o'clock, and I think that, maybe you do a couple more thoughts, and then maybe we'll take questions from
Yeah,
our
that's
audience.
perfect. I just want to say for everyone, I want you to be inspired by art, and especially when you're creating something. Remember, you could do realistic art. You can do a pure abstract art. It really depends on how you're feeling. You know what? When we figure out this feeling, when we see how we want to create something, like for example, if you guys look at this colorful mountainscape, I created this because I wanted to do a mountain, but I didn't want to do a hyper realistic mountain. It seemed so simple, too boring. I wanted something with a little bit more pop. So I did it. I did a mountain in my own style, because when you create something, you should create it in your own way. And it's a really powerful way to make you question, where am I? Where am I in this strange mountain world? Am I on another planet? Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing on this strange place? It tells a story. And you know what? This one talks, and as you said, it is unique to myself, and it talks about individuality. It talks about uniqueness, acceptance, and equity. And if you want to use purple, use purple. If you want your sky to be yellow, you can make it yellow. If you want it to be pink, you can make it pink, because it's your art. And guys, when we focus those values of, acceptance and inclusivity, we are not just building a more compassionate world, but one building with creative solutions. So everyone here in this virtual space, I feel like we get this. We recognize the beauty of seeing the world through an array of perspectives. And guys, we should always embrace and celebrate this neurodiverse universe we share. And obviously, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really look forward to engaging with your thoughts and any questions you have in mind.
Thank you, Aiden. I just have to say that I'm incredibly blown away by the talent, and I I am inspired by this idea that we should take our emotions through art. Can you imagine if more workplaces had a little bit of an hour where people could just bring their frustrations onto a canvas? What a wonderful world this would be.
Absolutely. If you bring more art into the world, we would see more people being able to understand themselves. And that's the importance of art, that way of communication and compassion. And I feel like it's really needed.
Yeah, I think that this conversation could have gone for a whole afternoon, and we still would have been an awe and struck and awed by your art, which is fabulous, fabulous. I don't know if anybody in the audience has a question. We do have a couple of messages that I'll read to you after we open up the questions.
Not a
Right.
question, not a question, Aiden, but I think what struck with me is sometimes when you do art, you try and do it for others, right? What would others like to see? Like, what's the color switch? But what you mentioned about make your sky yellow, make your mountains purple, right? It's not just about acceptance of others, it's also about what you are feeling and accepting your own emotions. And I think that struck such a chord with me, Aiden. Thank you so much. It's such a beautiful thought to start the week, that sometimes we do all these things around, but it's also important to be accepting of oneself and our own strengths and weakness, right? So thank you so much, Aiden, for that. Loved every single piece that you showed on screen. It's amazing. You're
Thank you.
gifted. Yeah.
You know
Any
what?
more?
On the fact that you were talking about, creating things for others, it's good to listen to other people's ideas. Remember, different perspectives leads to different thoughts, different ideas coming together. But it's also really important that you have your own creative style, because if somebody asks you to do something, you can do it. You could do what they asked you, but you could do it in your own way. And that's the greatest way of doing it. If somebody asks you to do something, do it in your own way, because you know what? Doing it in your own way is always important. You want to love yourself, and you want to bring yourself. Don't bring somebody else's work. Bring your work, your style of work, in a sense.
Oh,
That's an
that's
amazing
fabulous.
thought.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Anyone else that would like to share a thought or a question for Aiden? For me, Aiden, I appreciated your breathing exercises. I think that we are so quick to try and do things that sometimes we forget to just breathe and to take that moment for us to accept and to reflect and to just to breathe. And you did that a couple of times, where you were consciously breathing to center yourself. So I appreciate that you reminded me that I should also take a little bit of time, center, and breathe.
You know what? Whenever I feel stressed out, or whenever, I don't know, let's say for example, me falling off my chair, uh you know what, it does like, what's the word, it does startle you, it does throw you off your beat. But if you take a second to recollect yourself, you can get back on track just as quickly, because you know what, if you take that moment to recollect yourself, you have that moment to understand what just happened, laugh about it, get a good laugh about it, and then keep moving forward.
Sure, for sure. Well, if there are no questions, I'll just briefly for you. I will read the comments that you got. Assad said, I love finding each one of our reasons of purpose and using that fuels us through some of the hard spots in life. It's our fuel. So Assad says, thanks so much for the inspiration and sharing your passion of art to give purpose. And then there was another comment about agreeing with what you were talking about, the sounds of nature being therapeutic. I've heard them come from nature, bubbling brook, the rustling of the leaves in the wind, some of his favorite sounds. And then Dean, just before he left, he said, thanking you for a great session. He had to be on his way out. So I think with that, Aiden, we would like to, on behalf of Wins and Odin, we would like to thank you for this great conversation. I will also like to take a moment to remind everybody that we are going to be putting up a link. So let me reshare my screen so that we can put a link for our survey. And I think I'll pass it on to Luna at this point.
Yes. So I have put the survey link on the chat. Would love to see what everyone has to say about this session. Thank you again, Aiden, for the amazing session, and look forward to following you and seeing your work as well. Thank you everyone for your time. Yeah, and we look forward to having you in the next webinar series.
Thank you guys so much for inviting me. It was such an honor to talk to you guys.